Anissa.
I'm Nushi Rose.
I'm Sophie Hannah.
I'm Mona. Welcome to episode 78 of Ethnically Speaking, the show where we discuss everything affecting the UK's highly melanated communities, from pop culture to current affair and everything in between. We always keep it 100, and today we'll be talking about the controversy at Buckingham Palace. According to documents obtained by the local Guardian newspaper, Buckingham Palace banned coloured immigrants or foreigners from undertaking office roles in the royal household until at least the late 1960s. However, they were allowed to work as domestic servants. The documents also reveal that the Queen has been exempt from race and gender laws for more than 4 decades since the 1970s. This has limited individuals working for her household from launching complaints in the UK courts in the event that they believe they have been discriminated against. The palace refused to answer questions about the ban and when it was ended, and said that they have a separate process hearing for complaints relating to alleged discrimination. Why does the Queen get to be above the law? Is it enough to uphold the spirit of the law when there are no legal consequences for discriminatory acts? Are we still supposed to believe Prince William when he says that the royal family are very much not racist? Do we believe that Lizzie is taking a liberty?
I just want to start off by saying welcome to the world, Lilibet, Diana, Mountbatten, Windsor. I'm here for you, Meghan and Harry. Now, back to the British royal family who still reside in this country. I think the Queen gets to be above the law because she's the Queen. Is that fair? No. Is it right? Do I agree with it? No. But it's because she's the Queen. We know the answer. She's the Queen. She has power. That's the reason why I don't know any other argument to say on that one. In terms of the royal family being racist, I think the royal family is racist. I'm going to step out on that ledge and say that. And I think they try to keep it white, right, and relevant. And I think that this whole no coloured immigrants, this makes me laugh. No coloured immigrants and no foreigners. It's just, if it was like 200 years ago, it would be just as heinous. The fact that it was in the 1960s is just disgusting. It was so recent. It's just like, how on earth? The majority of the Commonwealth is made up of people, black and brown people, but none of them can serve in the royal courts. That's what you're saying. Even though the majority of your wealth has been ripped from the backs of brown and black people. And when they say coloured immigrants, just the levels of racism, because if an Australian, if a French person, if someone from America came to live here, they'd be an immigrant too, but not coloured. And just the levels of that racism, it just shows that they still very much are a racist organisation. And William's comment, I think he meant that wholeheartedly. I think it comes from a white privilege, white supremacy, ignorance, a lack of real relationship with anybody probably who is of black descent. You might have acquaintances and you might visit them on your tours, but you're not letting them into your life enough like Harry has to be able to see the detrimental effect that the construction of race has on people's lives. So I before was very nonchalant about the monarchy, but now I'm here for abolishing it. I am here for abolishing after this. I'm like, actually, do you know what? You guys just need to be out of power. Your friend Harry has shown you that there is money out there to be made. Go, stop, go make it. Stop what you're doing, go make it.
Sophie, no, I'm not here for the abolishing of the royal family. Absolutely
I'm
not.
Here for it.
It's been no secret that I really enjoy the idea of a royal family. I really do. Whether I like the practical, what we're getting, no, I don't. But do I like the idea of a royal family? Absolutely. So I'm not here for abolishing it. And I also, I don't think anybody was really listening to Prince William just in general. So I don't know if anybody took his statement seriously. I just want to say that as a blanket. But I don't think that the royal family are racist. I feel like that's general. It's too general for me to say the royal family are racist. Do you know what I mean? Do I think that there are individuals in that family who are racist or who have demonstrated some racially charged behaviour? Absolutely. But I don't want to say that I think the royal family are racist. Like, for me, that's a bit too general. And I'm with you, Sophie. Why is the Queen above the law? Just because she is. It's literally, that's just the way the cookie has crumbled. It is literally it. And if I was the Queen, I'd probably want to be above the law. Unfortunately, when you're in power and you're at the top, there's a lot of webs around you to keep you at the top and to keep you exempt from things. It's not fair. However, this is just what happens when you have a queen and a monarchy and a royal family. You asked another question, Mona, and that was about, is it right to uphold the spirit of the law? Is that what you said? Am I correct?
Is it enough to uphold the spirit of the law when there are no legal consequences for discriminatory acts?
Yeah, and that was a bit difficult for me because I'm trying to understand, when in that question, what specific law are you referring to? Are you speaking about the law banning them from working in the clerical positions?
I mean, so you've got a multitude of them. You've got the fact that the Queen's been exempt from race and gender equality laws for more than 4 decades. So that, and as they responded by saying that they have a separate process for hearing complaints related to alleged discrimination. That's one. And then you have obviously the beginning of the ban of the coloured immigrants and foreigners undertaking official office. Oh my God. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I got it. Thank you. And with that situation, it's really difficult because I don't think it's right to uphold the law. I feel like I'm big on accountability. I feel like everybody should be accountable for their actions. Absolutely. However, at the same time, I do understand that I'm not even thinking about our specific queen. I'm just thinking of a queen. And for me, it's like, if I was a queen, why would I want any law that would entangle me in anything, or where I'd have to go in front of a court and explain myself to anyone? I personally wouldn't. That's just the truth. I just would not. So I can understand her point of view. However, I do like people that take accountability. And I guess if she didn't really have anything to hide, what would be the issue of her going to court? So I'm kind of like twofold on that.
Because she has a lot to hide. She has a lot to hide. And I just want to let me just clear something up that I said. When I say the royal family is racist, I mean the institution. I mean, I think of it in the terms when Harry and Meghan call it like the firm. I think the firm of the royal family is racist.
Like, Anissa, like I'm sort of like with you. Like, I used to, until the last week, I was not a defender of the royal family. It's not like I completely love the royal family, but you know what I mean? I've never really, in my mind, like the Queen, obviously we've never met in real life, but I'll say, I see photos of her or whatever. And I've always seen her as like a grandmother of the country, I guess. And I felt that kind of connection. I love old people. Like, I felt this whole thing. I felt like I've grown up with a family. But I've defended them to everyone, like I've dated people who have been like literally members of abolitionists of the monarchy groups. Like everything, and Republican groups, and I've always been like, no, I think this is a reason for us to break up. But I feel like with this latest evidence, you can't disagree. The monarchy is racist. The Queen is racist. Like, there's two separate things here, right? There's the Queen's consent as a law, and there's the stuff she actually intervened in, or like her people intervened in. Mm-hmm. And as far as we know, there were only 4 laws that she intervened in. One was to do with land taxes, one was to do with something equally mundane, and the next one. And then it was banning ethnic minorities, coloured immigrants, as Sophie was saying, like being on, I guess, display or in like a public role as part of her employee. Like, there's no grey there. It is very much black and white.
Just to clarify, they can have a role, but it can be like a domestic
servant. No, it has to be a domestic servant.
Yeah. I mean, they can have a role. There just can't be anything senior. And I think that the role of the Queen, the rule of law, the Queen's consent is actually intervened, they said like 1,000 times that they've seen. So it's not 4, it's a lot of times.
Okay. But it's just, the fact, the fact that would be a thing, like, and the fact that it would be an intervention at the time was like James Callaghan's government coming in and making like the first ever like racial equality laws where you couldn't discriminate against people on grounds of race or ethnicity. And that being like a major contender, there's a whole, like the investigation into that particular law was about how Callaghan and his government had sort of like staved off, and there was this weird sort of back and forth between them, waiting until kind of both were happy that, the government was happy that the Queen's courtiers would had enough like wiggle room, I guess, in what they were going to be discussing, that they felt comfortable they could then bring in their own exemption, right? So the fact that even took place suggests to me that they had an idea that she wouldn't be happy with this racial equality law. And maybe I'm wrong, of course. But as facts stand now, I don't see how you couldn't say that's racist, or the Queen has something to do with it. And the royal family, I agree with Sophie, we've been talking about it as an institution rather than as an individual, is racist. That is racist.
For me, sorry, when you said, that you see the Queen as like a grandmother figure, etc., she for sure ain't my grandmother. She makes me feel it, I know it, and I see it. That's for damn sure. And I think one thing for me that really ruffled my feathers was the hypocrisy of people's response when this came out. One, people still jumping to the rescue to be like, no, it's not racist, or she's not racist, etc. Or you get the people who are kind of like in the middle saying that, well, she's old and she comes from a different generation, etc. First of all, I've seen her whipping in big boy cars. I'm pretty sure they went out when you were like young. So if you can adapt to that, and if you can adapt to an iPhone, and if you can adapt to the modern century, I'm pretty sure that your brain can adapt to handling coloured immigrants. I think the whole thing is absolutely, I'd say barbaric, 100%. I'd say with my whole chest, it's absolutely barbaric. And I think the fact that people want to kind of sugarcoat it because she's the Queen, I'm literally holding back so much without effing and blinding, because I literally, it's on the tip of my tongue. The fact that people are trying to hold back and justify it, it cannot be justified. And I think for me, what really slaps me in the gut is the fact that they're not allowed to work in official roles. However, they can work as domestic servants. You actually trying to get me mad? Are you trying to get my blood boiling? Because that's actually so flipping disgusting. I can come in and work as a domestic servant because that's what I'm good for. But anything else, I'm not. And I hate to make it personal and say but when I read it, I cannot not take it in any other way. And I think it's absolutely disgusting that this hasn't hit people harder than I thought it would. Because when I've seen on blogs, when I've seen on Instagram posts, I get a lot of people saying, oh, well, why are we surprised? Well, why are we surprised? And for me, this just adds more flesh to the bone of when you come from an ethnic community, you hear it all the time. You have to work twice as hard to get half as far as they get in a white world. And to me, if this is not any much more of meat to the bone, then I don't know what the hell is. And yes, I understand that she's the Queen. Yes, I understand that, quote unquote, that she is above the law. But even as we say it, I feel like we say it so innocently and not actually digesting that one woman is above the law. If you put that into risk, sorry, go on, Sophie, what are you going to say something?
It's not just her. A lot of people with power and money are above the law.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about her family. Boris Johnson and Renovation Gate. Yeah? Like his place getting renovated and he's doing this and he's doing that. He hasn't got the money. He's trying to get it from Tory, allegedly. I say allegedly because we don't want to get sued, but I don't think it's alleged. That's what I'm going to say. So he is out here trying to get money to pay for his renovations. He is out here saying, let the bodies pile high. He would rather more people die than to close the country because he's caring about the economy. Again, that was an alleged comment that has been backed up by multiple witnesses. People have been killed with less witnesses than people have said that they heard Boris Johnson say this. And yet he's there sitting in power and we're pretending like it hasn't been said and he's carrying on because there is something that power and money gets to you. So for me, there's various people who are above the law because of their positions.
I completely agree with you. But for me, the thing is that even though they are above the law, this could be like the naivety in me, there's still that glimpse of hope that, they could be held accountable. Lizzie ain't being held accountable for shit. She's above the law. Like, when you hear it like that, it's literally like, you have to just sit back and think, okay, because it's not something that we have in our day-to-day conversations. For me, I'm completely with you, Sophie. Get the monarchy out. That's not my Queen. Get them out. I'm hand on my heart. I've had so much conversations with my friends, and for me, there isn't even like any middle ground about it, because I just cannot believe that facts like this have come, which we've always known. Facts like this have come out and people are just sitting here. You might as well just go, okay, then what's next? if we look at the
thing, yeah.
If we look at the diversity that is in politics and the figures that we see, for me to say it's not enough is an absolute understatement. What is the figures? Like 6.3% is ethnic minorities. Are you actually joking me? How are we supposed to go anywhere when we're looking at our leaders and this is the representation that we have from ethnic communities? It's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
And I think the fact that the royal household won't say when it ended is because it hasn't ended. Let's be very clear. That rule is still very much there. And if you want, I'm not gonna blame the Queen, because I think the Queen is a pawn. She's not the one who runs things. They have advisors who tell them what are the best things to do, what are the best things to sign on for. It's not just something that we've seen in The Crown, which I kind of watched a little bit. I saw Harry and Meghan talking about there are advisors around her, and depending on who the advisors are, depends about some of these decisions that are made. So their job is to protect the monarchy at all costs and to make sure that it survives come what may. So I think, from what we've seen in The Crown, which I think has been said to be true, is that people train up the next people to be in these roles. They cherry pick the person who's going to be the next advisor. They put that person in place. They make sure they have the right skills. And I have seen this in an organization that I used to work for. When you cherry pick the people and you're like, my job is, I'm going to make sure that the next people coming up are trained. What you are able to do is continue the biases that you already have and just pass them down. And do we think that they're choosing someone black to replace them? No. Could they? Yes. But are they? No. Do they think that someone black is going to be able to understand the establishment? Probably not. So it's a completely convoluted system, and they are they're not respecting the spirit of the law. It's such a lie. I'm sorry. If you were going to keep the spirit of the law, you would just keep the law itself. If I'm going to keep the spirit of the law, then give me the law, because I'm already keeping it. I can have the law and be held accountable, as Anissa said, because I'm gonna maintain the spirit of it. But they don't want to maintain the spirit of the law. What they're saying is like, we try to be fair. The spirit. Look, let someone else talk.
Okay?
I got so much to say, guys. Let me stop.
No, I'm here for it because I genuinely feel like all the heat that we feel, I'm like, where is this amongst the rest of the people? Why the hell are people so placid? I don't understand it. And yes, I get that we're talking about the Queen, because I was having this conversation at work and I was just explaining a little bit about it. And this mixed race lady said to me that I should watch my tongue and I should feel grateful for the fact that I don't have my head chopped off.
Oh no. Excuse me.
I mean, do you know what? To a certain extent, she's right. In some countries, they are not allowed to say anything against their monarchy. Do you know what I mean? So in terms
she's not right in this country.
I'm saying in this country, we are fortunate to have a certain level of freedom that we can be online cussing the monarchy and we're going to sleep well at night and carry on to our jobs. Like, some people don't have that luxury, but the fact that it was a mixed race woman, it just makes me very sad, because that feels like some very big internalized racism.
It's the word grateful that I don't like.
It's true.
I don't like the whole setup from the jump. And this is what I'm saying about the attitude that people have. This whole, I don't know if it's because she's the Queen, people feel that she's above race and gender equality laws. I don't know what it is, but the attitude that I am seeing from the response of people who it affects directly, I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? Why do we all have this sort of relaxed attitude where we're not really having the conversations that need to be had? The fact we all have known this, and now that this information has been highlighted, what the hell are we doing about it? What types of conversations are we having? Where are we steering? Where are we going?
And I would just like to say, so sorry, guys. I think it's harder to keep the spirit of the law than the letter of the law. It really is harder to keep the spirit of the law. Like, for example, the letter of the law is you cannot discriminate against anyone for like race, gender, sex, marital status, health within an organization. That's the law. That's the letter of law. The spirit of the law is people still get mistreated, but they make sure they do it in a way that they can't actually be held accountable. The spirit of the law is supposed to be, no matter where you are, no matter what you look like, no matter where you come from, you should be treated equally. Across the board. You shouldn't be treated badly because of things that you have no control over. That is the spirit of the law. But so many times these laws are transgressed and people try to get around it. And I have been a person within this system where my past organization, they tried to keep the letter of the law. Well, we'll do this, but the spirit of the law, they were treating me horribly. And they were saying, well, it's not technically harassment. It's not technically bullying. According to point 2 of 7.5 of the Code of Conduct Handbook, I'm like, but you know what you were doing. And you know in the spirit that I was being treated, that this was against the law. You know that. So this whole way, keeping the spirit of the law is a lie, because if you're keeping the spirit of the law, you would see much more diversity within your rank. You wouldn't say it's only a white person who can give the Queen the support that she needs.
I agree. I mean, I was going to say, in regards to Mona's point when she's talking about the Queen, but I definitely agree with you about, I think there's a little bit of a naivety to the Queen. So Sophie raised a good point saying that the Queen's not the only person above the law. A lot of people who are who have money and power, but the difference is the Queen is like this national monument in which people admire. So you're so naive to it. It's like, well, she's the Queen, so you don't take it seriously, and the naivety of that is people don't see her as a threat. And that's exactly why, Mona, I think why people aren't up in arms, because they don't really see her as a threat like that. They see her as either the grandmother of the country or this national monument or someone we admire, almost like she's not even a real person. So it's like, oh, okay, maybe she could be doing these behaviors, but we're not going to hold her accountable. She's not really a threat because we're almost naive to the situation. And I think I'm not one of those people, but when I'm saying, okay, the Queen's exempt from law because she's above the Queen, because when you think of her in this idealistic way. So you're just like, oh yeah, like, of course she's above the law. Because we almost, like, I'm just thinking of myself as a queen. I'm like, yeah, of course I'm above the law. But that's dangerous because then I can be getting away with who knows what if I wanted to. And that's exactly why I think people are not up in arms or about the situation, because they don't see her as a threat.
And at the end of the day, Anissa, going off what you just said, being above the law and being exempt from the law is two completely different things, right? Even though the connotation has similar undertones, it's actually two very different things. And I think that I don't believe anybody should be above the law. And her being in the position that she's in is what? Because of her bloodline. Do they do tests to make sure that they are the fairest of all of the land and the kindest of all of the land and implement the best of all of the land? No, they don't. They're there because of their blood. It's got nothing to do with characteristic, personality, skill sets. It's got nothing to do with that. So for somebody to be above the law just because of their birthright, for me in 2020, it doesn't sit right with me. And then when you have facts and figures coming out talking about the race and the gender and all, and things that is very, very near and dear to people, and things that is, I don't want to say trend to make it seem like it's just a little theme, but you get what I mean. It's very prevalent right now, and we're in a situation where people are so privileged to be able to talk about their experiences and try to find ways to navigate it. And the whole head honcho is up here, not telling us when it's been banned, as Sophie said, because it's still in practice. So what is actually the point in me filling out forms when I'm applying for jobs because they're trying to keep it as diverse as possible? No, I just feel like I'm a puppet involved in a master plan because at the top of the food chain, it is all polluted. You're not trying to fool anybody. So I don't feel like we're going anywhere personally. And I don't even mean to come across pessimistic, but it's just like, when you give money to charity and you feel like you've done a good deed, right? And then you start to get into the politics and you realize that they only need to give like 1p out of that £1 to the charity. So really that 99p is going towards someone else's pockets. I kind of feel like it's similar to this. A bit of a weird analogy, but if you get my gist. How do you feel about, I know that you said that you don't feel like anybody listens to Prince William's, what he said that the royal family are very much not racist, but how do you feel people drinking that up when we have the Guardian exposing things like what we've just discussed?
I think because man, I was gonna out someone, but I can't. I'm not shut on that one. I can't. The repercussions would be too much. What I was gonna say is, people think that racism is being lynched in the street, saying the N-words, spitting on someone, calling them a racial slur. And when you have that as racism, then you can say we're very much not racist. We want people to excel. We do charities for people who are, you know, from young impoverished areas. But it's just like, it's not just the overt forms of racism. It's about who you're hiring. It's about who has access to opportunities. It's about who is getting the nepotism in these things. It's about the biases that you have. It's about seeing the difference between a coloured immigrant and another immigrant. All of these are all racism, and it's very easy for people to separate. And I've seen it in my daily life. Literally, I've seen it this year with people that I know who are white, and they very much were like, you know, well, you know, like things aren't that bad. Like, you know, you can apply for a job anywhere. There's interracial relationships. You know, you can march for Black Lives Matter. So, and I hate to say this. I hate to say this. To a certain extent, there is some truth in that. Do you know what I mean? Things are, in some cases, better than they were 200-300 years ago. But to make it now that we have reached all the progress that we need to make because I can live next door to my white neighbor and not have them throw a brick through my window because they see me as a human being, does not mean we've come far enough.
I absolutely, completely agree with you. I absolutely agree. And I think, for me, what message does it send out for future generations? Because, I mean, when you have a child, you tell them, shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, the sky's the limit. You can be anything that you want. And like I said earlier on at the beginning of this recording, something that I have grown up with is that you have to work twice as hard to get half as far. That is very, very prevalent in the topic that we're discussing today. And I think, what message does that send? Because yes, you're right, Sophie, even though people aren't being lynched in the streets, well, let me take that back. Even though we do not see as much, because it's still out there, racism, when people say, look how far we've come, I always hit it with, no, look how far we've adapted. Because racism has adapted, which it has. Like, it's gotten smarter, it's gotten more discreet, but it's there. It's there in its spiderweb, and it's concealed a lot. And when you break down the institutions and you see the way certain things plan out, it's something that you know, and it's something that you feel. And when you see the Queen being exposed in such a vulgar manner, and the response kind of being a bit like half-hearted, you're thinking, well, as a nation, we're just as bad. Because I just think that, hold on, I can't even try to get my words out. I just think that her sovereign immunity to the racial injustice shows that we haven't come that far. I'm not saying we haven't come far, we haven't come that far. And to be grateful, to think, oh yeah, you know, I'm just going to kind of park my car here and be happy in where we are. Hell no, I'm not going to park my car here.
I agree with what you're saying, and I think it really just highlights all these tours that the royal family goes on are just lies. And I think that's what really hurt me. That really hurt me, because I'm like, it's so hypocritical. You want to go there and talk about we're fostering our special relationships that we have with these countries. But I'm like, but the power has always been in your possession, and the relationship works as long as you are at the top of the food chain and everyone else is still subjects. I heard that we're still called subjects of the Queen rather than citizens of the country. I read that somewhere. So it's just a messed up system, and I'm glad that Harry and Meghan got out.
I completely agree with you. Well, I don't know about you, ladies. It's a hot day today, but I'm even hotter after this conversation. So let's just kind of cool it off and cool it down. Thank you for watching and listening to Ethnically Speaking. Let's keep the conversation going. Do you think that the Queen should be exempt from gender and race equality laws? Let us know in the comments down below. For a summary of everything we've discussed today, head over to unitedmeningengroup.com/ESO78. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like this video, follow our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Ethnically Speaking will be back on Friday. But until then, wear your masks, wash your hands, and most of all, stay safe.